interesting, round the far side, round the other leg of the loop, James. This is the car parked on the bus stop.
Yeah.
So see whether he's still there. These guys in it.
And this guy here, his mirror's going to be a problem for me.
What's that? You're right.
Well, it's been a great conference.
Has it? Oh, good.
So congratulations.
And thank you.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you, James, for what you've done.
Oh,
You're all part of the bigger team, but
Yeah, absolutely.
we all played different
Were
parts.
you guys all happy with dinner last night? I
Oh,
was, but were
Yeah,
you?
you're
It was fantastic.
Oh, that's good.
no complaints at all. And I haven't got anybody complaining.
Wonderful.
And the meals is good. This is an old Melbourne trend. You're photographing you. You're sick of bloody waving. And
Oh, yes, you like the Queen Mother waving and smiling.
Got your eyes closed.
that's it. I'd give you the tuck the whistle. Does he know you're there?
No, of course he doesn't, because no one around here looks at what they're doing. They just drive. They come to lunch, they park their bum out in the street, and off they go to lunch.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why when their car gets towed away, and they say, well, why didn't you just go round me? And we say, well, we're on rails, we don't go round.
There's a car on the line around here.
Oh, yes. Well, Auckland Transport, we're going to send parking wardens round.
Oh, the guy was in the car,
Is
so.
he?
Where are they? I said to the girl, you'll get a ticket in the mail anyway.
Ah, well done. Thanks,
They
Dave.
don't run in, so they don't know that.
Well, good afternoon, folks. Welcome aboard the Dockline Tram. And the theme for the Tramway Conference was telling the story, and that's exactly what we do down here in Wynyard Quarter with our tramway. As we trundle around the loop, we share with you a bit of the story of this area. And Andrew, who will have the SW6 out shortly, will be sharing his version of the story. We've got 9 drivers, and sorry, I told you a lie. We had 9 drivers. We've got 6 drivers now, and we all have a different version of the same story to tell, which does make it interesting when there's several drivers on. Halsey Street here is named after Admiral Lionel Halsey, who commanded a battle cruiser during the First World War called HMS New Zealand. His claim to fame was that while he was in command of the ship, he never lost a single man, and nor did the ship suffer any serious damage despite all the battles they fought. He was known to the crew as the lucky captain.
But you know why, James? Don't
Tell me why.
He had that Maori
Yes, he got given a Maori cloak. He also brought HMS New Zealand out after the war with the new New Zealand flag.
Gave him protection.
Yeah. Well, you may not realise this, but all of the land around us is reclaimed from the sea. The park in front of us where the trees are, Victoria Park, was originally a fishing lagoon. Victoria Street on the other side, where we were at dinner last night at the Birdcage, that was the beach or the seafront. They began reclaiming the land first with Victoria Park in 1901, completed in 1905, named after the late Sovereign Queen Victoria. And then they began reclaiming the land in stages. This little bit here, 1923. Smile for the red light camera. This bit done in 1923. The last piece of land reclaimed was way up the far end in 1929. Our second train stop here in Gaunt Street. When you think about the fact that where we're sitting now was part of Auckland Harbour, you'll understand why when these buildings on the left were built 2014 to 2018, they had to go down some 30 metres to find solid rock to set the building foundations on. Now, since you're all tram people, I'll give you a bit of a techno background to this tram. 1926 X1 class built for the Melbourne Tramways in Footscray, service till around 1961. Restored by the Bendigo Tramways after it had been, the body had been purchased by Len Miller and Darren Hutchinson, and they were trying to find a home for it. This tramway came along. MOTAT here in Auckland at the time didn't have enough trams to lend us to get trams up and running, so we brought this one over and a W2 and had them both painted up in Auckland colours. These are the colours that, as you noticed yesterday with 248, these are the colours that Auckland trams were painted in back in the 1930s. Another little thing here, I've got a box at my right hand sitting on with a green button on it. Clinton, thanks to Alex in Christchurch having the right idea, Clinton fitted a water sprinkler system. So when we go around the curves, I push the button under a low pressure valve that Clinton's put in. It takes the air from the system, squirts water out in front of my wheels, cuts a bit of the flange squeal down, which keeps the people in the apartments happy. Park on the right hand side is named after the wife of the man that this street's named after, William C. Daldy. This is Amy Daldy Park on the right. Amy Daldy was a loud and long campaigner of women's rights and the suffragette movement here in New Zealand, and I guess it's because of women like Amy Daldy that New Zealand was the first country in the world to give women the vote. Daldy Street here named after the man William C. Daldy, who was the first chairman of the Auckland Harbour Board way back when Auckland became a city in its own right in 1871. Now you do probably think that this is a bit of a weird thing going round a circle with 4 tram stops, and that's because this tramway was indeed part of a much bigger concept that has never been realised. When we opened in 2011, we were meant to be the link to downtown Auckland, travelling across Quay Street, past the Maritime Museum and on to the bottom of Queen Street, bringing people from downtown here to Wynyard Quarter, moving them around the loop, going back to downtown again. The track to downtown never got built, and that's why we have a death sentence on us now. We were supposed to close for good in April this year, so our tram shed here on the left could be demolished. Make sure there's no one behind me, yes there is. Could be demolished to make way for the next block of apartments to be built, but because of the slump in the building industry, the project's been put on hold, so we're able to run for another year or so. Tramway owned by Panuku and operated by the tram team at MOTAT. Now, each trip round we'll make a stop here at this bus stop, which is our also tram stop, so if any of you want to get off, have a wander around in the tram shed, there's a toilet in there, and we'll just keep trundling round, and if you're standing here, we'll pick you up.
Thank you, driver.
Oh, you are welcome. Thank you. Thanks. Oh, you're welcome.
College Hill, next stop.
Next stop, College Hill.
75 past.
Never needed overhaul the whole time though, the isolated Footscray system.
So welcome everyone to the Dockline Tram. We'll be going round Wynyard Quarter on a 1.5 kilometre loop. It's going to take about 7 to 10 minutes, or it depends how quick I drive. So I have to go slowly past this van so we don't rock too much. So we're now coming up to our first stop, which is opposite the fish market, which was started by Albert Sanford in about 1904 in the city centre, and then they moved to this location in the late 1920s. So before COVID hit our shores, there used to be many outdoor movies, and Wynyard Quarter was no exception. They used to use the silos over to our left as the screen. And they used to prove very popular, so hopefully someday in the near future they will return again. Do you want the doors open or closed? Leave mine. It's getting quite warm, isn't it? So we're now heading down Jellicoe Street, which is the hub of Wynyard Quarter, all the bars and restaurants down here. And many of the road names in Wynyard Quarter are named after Auckland Harbour Board or naval associations. Jellicoe Street is named after Lord Jellicoe, who was the second Governor General to New Zealand back in 1921. But a little story about him: he was actually a very keen sailor, and at one time was a member of most sailing clubs in New Zealand. And in 1920, someone from Dunedin actually challenged him to a sailing race. Someone then decided to put up a solid silver trophy for the winner. Unfortunately, Lord Jellicoe lost the race, but the solid silver trophy, it's called the Sanders Cup, is actually still sailed for today, and it's the oldest trophy sailed for in New Zealand. So I just have to wait for this car to move. Yep. So just up ahead on our left hand side we have Kranga Plaza, which is the Maori word for welcome. And from here you can cross over the bridge to downtown Auckland and visit places like the Maritime Museum, where you've been recently. It's, as you know, about a 20-minute walk from here. So this is our stop outside the Park Hyatt Hotel. Just up ahead here on our right hand side we have Way, which is a laneway that links Halsey Street we're travelling on with Beaumont Street all the way across. And if you do walk along the laneway, there are many dots and sandblasts in the laneway. I would not recommend counting them, because there's 480,000 of them, and they're to represent the Waitemata shoreline. There's also silver buttons in the laneway, which if you want you can step on or then squirts water out the ground. And during the summer many children do it, and even some adults as well. So we're now coming up to Gaunt Street. If you've been on the other tram, James would have told you that we're travelling on land which has all been reclaimed from the sea. Because originally the shoreline was up ahead where you can see the trees along Fanshawe Street, and then the shoreline went around Victoria Park. So Victoria Park was originally a bay, and that started to be reclaimed in the 1870s, followed by the rest of Wynyard Quarter up to the late 1920s. So Victoria Park was actually named in 1905 after Queen Victoria, who actually died in 1901. It's also the oldest sports ground in Auckland, when on the 20th of July 1910 it was the date of the first International Rugby League game, and that's against the New Zealand Maori team and the British Lions. It's the British Lions' first tour of Australasia, and they were very successful, winning all their games, including beating the New Zealand Maori team here 29-0. quite apt to the Rugby World Cup time. But also with Victoria Park back in 1918, when the Spanish flu hit New Zealand shores, about 1,000 people were dying from the September to the Christmas time, and at one stage about 89 people were dying a day. And they actually used the pavilion in Victoria Park as a temporary morgue, where they then used to store the bodies and then put them on a special train out to Waikumete Cemetery over at Glen Eden. So on the right hand side we have one of our inner city bus depots, which is not really particularly exciting. But the reason for pointing it out is between 1924 and 1954 it was one of two main tram depots in Auckland. And 130 trams were housed here on the right hand side, out of the 256 that used to operate in and around Auckland. So you can imagine how busy Gaunt Street would be, all the trams coming on the Gaunt Street, going to Queen Street and heading far away as Onehunga. There was another depot out at Epsom on the corner of Green Lane and Manukau Road. So we're now coming into our Dawley Street stop. So just over to our left we have Beaumont Street, and beyond Beaumont Street we have the area of West Haven. And from here you can actually walk on the boardwalk alongside West Haven Marina all the way to the Auckland Harbour Bridge. It's about a 2-kilometre walk from here. But if you do walk on the boardwalk alongside West Haven Marina, you'll be walking alongside one of the largest marinas in the Southern Hemisphere. It can hold just over 1,800 boats.
So they lift the tram, swap the bogies and send the bogey out. 3 bogies.
So most of the roads in Wynyard Court are actually named after Auckland Harbour Board or naval associations. And we're now on Dawley Street, which is named after W.C. Dawley, which stands for William Crush Dawley. But W.C. Dawley in 1888, he married a lady called Amy. And if you have a look on the right hand side now, you'll see Amy Dawley Park. Well, Amy Dawley's been recognised for all the work she did with the women's rights movements. And it's the work Amy did and women like her that in 1893 led to New Zealand being the first country in the world to give women the vote. There are also 7 trees in the park which are older than the rest, because they were taken away when they were doing the park and then transplanted back at the end. So if you walk around, do see which are the older trees.